we're in this crazy ass location again, and someone started tailgating me again. This time it was that red Mercedes, and I slowed down and they moved over and then changed their driving behavior. But that exit right there is what goes to Emma Samuel's place, which they didn't take, but that Corolla is taking. And then back there was where Grant Enright used to live. I don't know if he still does. I don't know if Emma Samuel still lives there. My point is, this area is hot for some reason. And I don't mean hot as in sexy. I mean hot as in stupid ass shit seems to be going on here. I got coffee, and I got a burger and fries, and I got an ice cream. And look at that. I had to pull over so I could film it. That cloud is so low. That's so cool. All right, and now we're gonna shoot the BB gun, and then we're gonna go inside and play battle tanks. I try not to shoot too many of the metal ones into the pond because I don't want any fish eating them. I don't know how many fish are left, but I don't want them eating them. It's just cool when I shoot them into the pond because you can see them hit the water. But you can also hear them hit the tree. Like little hit markers. It's pretty fun. Alright, now I'm going to just dump the rest of the clip. Alright, time to go load another round of BBs. Next round. I can usually get 3 good rounds out of 1 cartridge. Or next clip, rather. Next magazine. Next line of BBs. Wind is blowing. The BBs are more susceptible to wind changes because they're round instead of being a parabellum shape. The rifling doesn't necessarily protect it from wind trajectory loss. I'm still hitting. So we're gonna run this magazine too. We'll run this one into the pond. It's pretty fun. One more. We're gonna just straight run this mag into the pond, but I want you to be aware it's just because I'm filming right now. And normally I would just run the mag into the woods for this dump. But like I said, so that you can see them hit the pond, I'll do it that way for this time. It starts the trigger mechanism starts behaving a little bit differently when the gas starts running down. And also, normally when I do this, I'm not filming with my phone in one hand, so it's a much easier process. I'm not using a GoPro today because I'm just gonna plug my phone in and film my other stuff today. What the heck? Why is it being like that? Fine. You want to be like that? Be like that. Someone was quantumly messing with my angular mechanism. I think they do that for what's known as clout, which is really just a smack upside the head. A smack upside the head, mate. That's all you get for that. A bunch of fake fame and a smeek upside the head.
it changed without any prior explanation to its reasoning. That's what we call a breach of protocol. And that's what, see how I was doing that and it like dodged and then made me say the wrong type of thing? That's what's called a breach of protocol. Sakaru Kamawa.
I'm gonna go with that.
Right.
Title change.
Dad, you're standing in front of my filming. Dad, your crotch is right in front of the camera, so let me just double check here that yeah, it's still pointing at the screen.
Just checking to make sure it's still recording. Yep.
be right back. I'm getting some coffee. Still recording?
Yep.
Nuke deployed.
still recording? Yep.
By the way, guys, I basically never lose tanks on this mission anymore, and that's why I'm suspicious that something is up. This isn't just about me documenting my playthrough the campaign. I've beaten this game multiple times over and over again since I was like a very little kid, and so I'm very familiar with how this works. And so when stuff like this happens, where on a level where I basically never lose tanks, I'm losing tanks, I start to think something's up. Because I know it's not impossible for people to use long-range technology on this sort of equipment, or to possibly even enter the residence without permission and change something, or even that my parents could be in on it. So I just wanted to point that out as we go along, because I have beaten the whole campaign without losing a single tank, and it really shouldn't change that much. And the way I did it was using, patterns I've developed, and so there really isn't that much reason that this should be happening. I'm aware it could be part of the observer effect since I'm filming it, but I'm also aware that someone or multiple people, or even a ton of people could be directly interfering, thinking it's going to fuck up my ego, but actually all you're doing, if you are doing that, is proving my point. And if you're not doing that, well, if you've played this game before, you know how hard it can be. But I would just like to point out that there have been some suspicious behaviors from some of these tanks, is all I'm saying. Kind of like they're supposed to be feeling like they're proving a point or something, but they're not. They're proving my point. And this is just adding to the feeling that I'm going to have to document where those people live on my way home that I'm concerned about. I'll probably start filming on the off-ramp, because I look for signs like this. Because even if no one is intentionally causing it, this sort of stuff to me usually means there's a disturbance in the force, as they say. You can call me crazy all you want, but until you learn how this stuff works, you don't have the right to make that judgment. And also, if I ever find out who did it, well, I'm just going to make sure they understand why it's not a good idea to do this. If it was on purpose. And if it wasn't on purpose, well then, like I said, it could just be an anomaly. But anomalies, 100% of the time, have patterns. And I've been trained to detect, identify, and reduce the threat of all anomalies.
I used to even hit the hundreds. I hit 100 kills on a train when I was like 5 years old playing this game. We took a mini CRT TV with us and everything. And yeah, my brain may have changed over time, but I doubt it's changed that much. And the controls shouldn't have changed. I'm using the same controller I used my whole life. Same cartridge. I may have had to repair this console at some point, but if that caused an install of a third-party deterioration system, well, that's GG's, fam. Because I didn't want that. I just wanted this to work again. And I don't even recall specifically what I did, if I did. But I didn't do anything that should have gotten this happening. So, let's go. And also, if you're monitoring my communications and my recordings, you have already been alerted that I'm going to document your residence, and I've already documented my residence. And also, I had an unauthorized documentation of my residence by people who were impersonating police officers. So, and I've already said that, and no one has tried to correct me about that. In fact, if anything, I've gotten an A firm. So, everything I'm doing is just to keep myself safe, and it's not to harm anyone else. And if you're harmed by my actions, that means you were trying to harm me. And let me rephrase. My last known residence. I don't know about the A firm on current residence, but I will have to document last known residence of potential terrorists. And that's how serious that is. Dun, da, da, da. Oh my god, convoy. Alright, I'm gonna take a quick pee break and get some more coffee and I'll be right back. Alright, this convoy mission is really difficult.
Did you guys see how quickly that pop-up went down?
Da da da. know that's not all of them. They usually go up to 70 or so, 73 or so. Plus the map has, there we go. I was gonna say plus the map hasn't ended. Sometimes they go up to 80. Alright, now any of these kills could be the last one. Well, actually, any of these spawns could be the last one. And this one very well might be the last one. Let's see. Nope, not this time. We're going at least to 74. Alright, we went up to 80 this time. Fascinating. 81. There we go. Alright, here we go. Kawaii desu.
Alright, time to head home. I've got my body cam on my chest just in case I need to step out of the vehicle if I'm being threatened. And I'm gonna film starting at the exit that I take that I always start getting followed at, just so you know where it is. And then unfortunately I'm gonna have to document the locations of the people that I suspect may be involved in the activity against me. And I don't have to suspect them of certain things, but I was trying to just move on from them. And because I'm still being harassed very deeply to the point where my life feels very threatened, I'm going to document the locations just for further clearance. And also, since my location has already been documented, especially against my will, and I then documented myself, and I'm making it clear this is an affirmative defense just in case something happens, not an order and encouragement against these people, because I don't have nearly enough evidence to prosecute for a full-scale conspiracy to commit murder, but I do have a civil right and a civil duty to tell the truth and the whole truth about my situation so that there's no mistaking what has been going on with me. Alright, that's the Dulles Toll Road, which I'm not taking today. I prefer not to take that unless it's suggested by my parents. I've started the body cam and I'm rolling on phone camera too, and just to be clear, I'm still looking at the road. I'm looking at the road. I might check to see if I'm recording on my phone, but I'm looking at the road and I've got a hand on the wheel. And normally I wouldn't even do this, but I've got to document this stuff because apparently my life is in danger and people think it's appropriate to treat me like an enemy and like this is a war zone, when that is supposed to be the farthest thing from the truth. And that if people are going to start acting like that, I'm not going to overreact, but I am going to start documenting it. And I'm usually against documenting where people's residences are, and I'm going to reiterate that this is not supposed to be used as an accusation or to incriminate anyone. It's just supposed to be an affirmative defense, and I don't give you consent to use this against me in court, and I frankly don't even give you consent to use this for me in court without consulting me first. So this is the exit where the problems usually begin. We shall see what happens here, if anything. People are definitely maintaining their distance from me more than usual. Usually I'm getting followed immediately right off the bat here. BMWs at a relatively that was fine mostly, I think. We'll see in a second. That was fine. I don't care if they're speeding as long as they're not acting like they're gonna shoot me or tailgating the fuck out of me or basically any form of terrorizing me. Other than that, obviously I don't want them to do anything that's outside of their skill set, but none of that seemed very dangerous. They did take a little bit longer than I would have liked for them to exit my lane, but okay, let's see what these people are gonna do. Coming up on me fast. This is about where problems started last time. And like I said, someone straight up pointed a gun at me last time I was in this area going this direction. That's the main reason why I'm filming all this. And then once again, just documenting locations of people that could potentially be responsible, which I have no proof of, but I don't need proof because that's not the point of this. The point is just to create a chain of evidence. And a quick reminder that if none of these people are doing anything that needs corrective action, then I urge you to leave them alone, especially because one of them is going to be the residence of a law enforcement, or someone who said they claimed they were law enforcement. I don't know if they actually were, because they never showed me any credentials. But just reiterating, do not terrorize people. Even if they are responsible for acts of terrorism, you don't fight terrorism with terrorism. That's not what counter-terrorism is. You don't then terrorize them back. The only way to resolve these issues is through diplomatic behavior, an attempt to straighten out the situation, and if that doesn't work, then you can consider executions. But you don't terrorize people. It's not what you're supposed to do. It's not what this planet's about. And frankly, I would advise you caution when even approaching these people with a legitimate reason. So keep that in mind, that this is by no means an encouragement to confront the residences of these homes that I'm about to show you. And like I said, I don't even know if they still live there. It's been a long time since I've had contact with any of them, but I became very suspicious recently that due to their inappropriate behavior towards me and my refusal to take punitive action against them, that they have continued to perpetuate negative behavior towards me. And it's just a concern. There's definitely negative behavior towards me. That part is not in that part's not what I'm questioning. But I have zero actual proof that it's happening to me specifically, because I'm being specifically targeted as a result of these things, and they could all just still be a chain of coincidental events, and that I still somehow highly doubt that that's the case. I think that it very well may be very specifically because of me, and that everything that's been happening to me is a direct result of all of this. And the only reason it's happening is because I trusted people who told me that they weren't out to get me and that they were trying to help me and that they would get my back. And then I constantly found myself in situations where that was not the case, and I found myself in trouble, and then they denied any responsibility and placed all the blame on me. And I apparently have been subjected to quite a few lies told to me. And while we get there, we're going to go to last known residence of Grant Enright first, otherwise known as Vaboh, V-A-B-O-H. My issue with him is that while I was working under my research clearance with the crack plugins, I was doing work that, while I frankly shouldn't capitalize on too heavily, or at least if I capitalized on it to a degree which I could profit off of it, I should immediately turn those profits back into purchasing the plugins. And I would like to remind you that at this point, all of those plugins that were part of my process have been paid for by my parents because I didn't make enough money. But I did a shit ton of work for this guy with the expectation that he was my friend and that he wouldn't betray me, and that he understood that I was being very respectful to him because he had experienced a trauma, namely a divorce, a messy divorce, and that I was trying to support him. And my issue here is that I constantly got treated like an inferior, although there were often times where he was complimentary and even acknowledged my superiority in certain areas. It ultimately seems like that situation was just to give me a false sense of confidence, which is ironic because it was actually, the confidence was warranted. But then other times he would just do things to break me down and cut me down, taking my kindness as weakness because I didn't do anything about it other than explain to him that it hurt. And then he tried to use it against me when I told him that I was suffering as a result of not being properly compensated, because every time I did a job it would be $100 a song or so, when the work that I was doing was at least as good or better than one of the engineers he paid $2,000 for a song for. And like I said, I would have just put that money back into the plugins if I'd made enough to constitute any substantial profit. Except that all of that $100, I had a nicotine addiction at the time, and also I was living outside of my parents' house, and so I would use it for snacks and stuff. And the jobs weren't like super consistent, and I was putting a lot of time and energy into it. And then he profited off of this stuff, and yeah, I know he's got a kid to support and everything, but he also had another job. And then apparently at some point he got signed, and instead of picking me back up and paying me for my work, he just kept the money or whatever. I don't really understand the full issue or whatever the fuck, but I don't really care. The point is that I got slighted in a big ass way. I got shunned, I got excluded, and officially I got betrayed because turns out he was only ever interested in me when he could make money from me, and was never really my friend, which is very sad. And then I explicitly, after I was released from incarceration for being accused of assaulting a woman who was literally raping me, and who literally assaulted me first, but whatever, I guess, for now. He talked to me quite frequently while I was on the phone while I was incarcerated, and then when I got out, I told him, like, I specifically don't want any women around me that could be seductive, and especially not with addictive behaviors because of everything I went through. And also then I spent 2 months in an inpatient program, and within the week that I was released, this person, Grant, introduced me to Emma Samuels, who I had sex with that very day. I offered to drive her home, and then she wanted to sit in the car for a little bit before I took her all the way home, and then we ended up having sex that day. And then not even that long after that, she ended up letting me film her giving me a blowjob, and she used to give me blowjobs in the car and stuff, which probably shouldn't have been doing. Frankly, I thought about that. I'm like, that probably wasn't responsible. And we had sex many, many times, and she always promised that she wasn't going to cheat on me and that we were going to get married, and then she ended up just cheating on me, and admitting it. And she also took a very belittling and sexually abusive video of me just because she was feeling badly, and I offered to let her film me again, but I guess she wasn't interested in building me up because I guess she already had someone else or something, and she was just interested in breaking me down and treating me like an enemy. Like I said, I don't know whether that was Grant's intention and he was like sicking her on me, or if he just didn't understand how serious my request was about not introducing me to these sorts of people. But it really compromised my situation and put me in a lot of potential risk of being in harm's way. And as recently as last weekend, I got a gun pointed at me in this area, and this is the only thing I could think of as to why this would be happening. So I'm just going to go ahead and document it. And I'm reiterating, this isn't supposed to get people in trouble or anything. I'm just pointing out, I'm doing my due diligence and pointing out what I noticed. I'm telling the truth, which is what I've been put under oath to do. I haven't been here in a while. I visited once, or like not him, but I went to this location once in the past couple years or so, just to make sure I still remembered where it was. And once again, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't live here anymore, but I just gotta go find out. Like, I just gotta go document this. Mostly because I feel like people are like, oh, you wouldn't know where we are. It's like, well, I might not know where you are, but I just wanted to remind you that it's not like I forgot. Not you. This is the voices in my head. They're not actually still talking to me. It's like the remainder of their impact on my psyche and me simulating their conversations and not being able to not do that, because that's what I do with everyone that I thought I was close with, or think that I'm close with, or know that I'm close with, but maybe they don't feel close to me or something. I don't know. Is this it? This might be it. All right, here we are. Yeah, and I just want to make this clear. I have never had any sexual contact with Grant Enright. It was not in the cards. When he met Miranda, she wanted us to kiss and everything, and if there was going to be anything, it probably would have been at that moment, because basically someone told us to, and we're like, nah, that's not cool. So our relationship apparently was purely professional, and I thought it was friendly as well, but I guess I was wrong about that. So yeah, that's where that location was, is back there, that corner, and we'll just do it one more time. Just to reiterate, I don't know which exact apartment he was in, which is not my point here. I'm not trying to get people caught up or anything. I'm just documenting a chain of events to try to make sure that everyone understands, if anyone has questions, that I'm being open and honest about what's occurring. And once again, if he's not doing anything wrong, leave him alone. But if he's doing something wrong, then and it's causing this against me, then someone needs to do something about it. So that's where this is like one of the exits that he would use. So there's that. And he was living there with Miranda, and Emma would go over to their house, and she would drink alcohol there, and yeah, we're not gonna go too deep into this right now, but needless to say, there were some habits that I had specifically requested not to be exposed to, and that did not end up being respected, which put me at risk, but I managed the risk and completed my my outpatient drug program after completing my inpatient drug program with no violations. So that's another reason why it's kind of messed up that I'm on color code, just because Maryland didn't initiate the interstate transfer properly when I was released from incarceration. Let's see. Once again, I don't have a problem with being urine screened, but I do have a problem with it being done at the threat of essentially kidnap and violence if resisted. Because like I said, my ketamine infusions, which I didn't have to do before my house was raided, I did need treatment, but anyway, when they do the urine screens, it's completely respectful, and I'd be a fool to try to pass the urine screens with lying, because it's just for my safety. It's supposed to just be for my safety, and so that they can confirm that I'm being safe. It's not supposed to be a threat, and we shouldn't have to do this whole are they using a fake penis, or are they bringing in a bag of urine? I've never done that. I don't have any interest in doing that, but I just don't think that the way it's being done is correct. I know it's not correct, and I already explicitly discussed all this, so now I'm going to switch gears again. This isn't all about my color code, or is it? I don't know. Maybe it is somehow connected, but next I'm going to see if I can find my way over to Emma Samuel's house, which is, by the way, do not harass any of these people. I just have to show you that I'm not just being vague, and that I'm actually capable of stringing these pieces of evidence together, and that if I had gone any farther than this with trying to document this stuff, I ran the risk of putting myself and others at risk up until this point. And in addition to that, wait, let me focus for a second. I'm not in this section of the area very often. Anymore, at least. Yeah, also there's no guarantee that they wouldn't have just tried to run around me and create defenses against my documentation and everything. And once again, this isn't for me to submit to court. I'm documenting this for basically just survival purposes and to protect my rights and everything. And while we're going over to Emma Samuel's place, she told me she was 19, and so if she was underage, I can't be held responsible for that. And her stepdad was apparently Secret Service, which I'm not explicitly doubting, but I just want to reconfirm. I never saw any official credentials of that, and I really didn't want to do this in the first place, but, you know, someone pointing a gun at me on this road is pretty serious when I'm already very suspicious about what's going on, and especially when I was basically tortured, and like I said, Emma was like, when I told her what happened with Sonia, she was like, oh, well, I want you to do that to me too. And she was like, is that messed up? And I was like, no, that's not messed up, because you think that I did that to her out of a love language, but I didn't. So I'm correcting you that that's not a good thing. I didn't do that out of a love language. I did it out of self-defense. But it apparently, then, you know, I was doing all this to be tolerant because I thought we were going to get married and have kids and stuff. But apparently that wasn't her modus operandi, and it was all a fucking lie. And she cheated on me the first chance she got, apparently. So if I had known that that was what was going to happen, I would have just said, yeah, that's messed up, please don't think that way. But instead, I tolerated it, I radically accepted it, I didn't invalidate her emotions, and I just corrected it. But apparently that didn't stick, because the next issue was just her saying that her ex used to be in a gang and that he used to, like, throw her around in bed and do whatever she wanted. And even though I was checking to make sure that she had multiple orgasms when we were having sex, apparently that wasn't enough for her. And that made me suspicious that she was just trying to get me to do something that she could collect evidence on and document against me, and used to say that I was raping her, when actually she was raping me, because I never violated her consent, but she violated my consent in an extreme way, and in a way that made me feel like my life was at risk, basically. And there's a vehicle behind me that may or may not be Secret Service, I don't know. So just keeping tabs on all this. They did not take this exit. But of course, they don't have to follow me if it's Secret Service. If they have a network here, they could just report my location, that I just took the exit and all that, and then communicate. But, you know, I'm not doing anything wrong at this point. It's very obvious. And if you think I'm doing something wrong, well then I know why you think that. Because you're treating me like an enemy, when I wasn't supposed to be your enemy, and I never treated you like an enemy. All I ever did was help these people. So yeah, here we are. And I'd like to reiterate that I was in a very vulnerable state when I was, when I started having sex with Emma Samuels. And I asked not to be exposed to them, and it happened anyway. You know, a week out of an inpatient program after being incarcerated also isn't enough time to heal, to have the ability to make appropriate decisions about this stuff, especially because I was essentially medicated against my will in the program, and I still hadn't gotten a chance to fix my medications yet. I'm still working on that today, like to this day. And that's part of the reason why this is happening, is because I found a medication that worked for me, and then I got attacked for it. And so there's more to the story, obviously, but that's essentially what it boils down to. And I'd also like to reiterate that part of the issue here is not just trauma from regular life, but also trauma from my circumcision and the way that it affected the rest of my life, the pattern of my life, where people just take away stuff from me. Wait, is this it? I can't remember if it's this one or the next one. I think it may have been that one. I can't remember. I'll take a left here. Just so you know, the reason I can't remember explicitly is because I'm not, like, patrolling the area that much. Like, I tend to like to leave people alone. People in my past especially, I tend to like to leave them alone. Just like I like to be left alone if someone doesn't have any business with me. But when this is your area of operations and I get a gun pointed at me in your area of operations, I'm forced to do stuff like this. Okay, so just to be clear, this is another law enforcement officer's place. Don't fuck with them either. That's not who it is. Or I don't think anyway. So now we are on the street, and the house necessary for documentation is this one. Just to show that it is within the area of operations that I'm referring to, and that if there is an officer responsible for this issue, it would be that person in that house, the man that lives in that house, if he's still there. And once again, do not harass him, do not harass his family. It's not appropriate behavior. But that would be technically who was supposed to prevent the issue that occurred to me from happening. And since he didn't, I have to document it. He may have even perpetuated it, and that's what I'm concerned about. And then the only other person's residence I have to document is Helon, just because on the same day that I felt bad, that I was gonna get assassinated when he invited me to the car meet, and then later that day I got a gun pointed at me, and he lives in this same area. I have to document his location as well, just in case. And once again, remember that I'm not trying to convince you that these people are doing anything wrong. I'm just, for my own peace of mind and knowing that I did the right thing, creating a chain of evidence through my explanations as an affirmative defense, and also for my sanity. Hopefully it helps my sanity and my mental health as well, because these sorts of things, they feel like they prey on my documented mental health issues. So that's why I take it so seriously. I don't know if I'm going to be able to figure out how to get back going the right direction without a map. So we'll see, because as I mentioned before, I'm not in this area a lot anymore. I think I'm going to pull over and pull my maps up. I'm going to get back going in the right direction, and then I'll start filming again, and I'll see if I can do it from a place that's continuous that you would recognize being around here. So I'll be right back. Actually, wait. I'll pull over and I'll pull the map up in an important place to document as well, in case there's any further questioning about this situation. And there's other places like this that I could add to the documentation, but I don't like doing this stuff in the first place, and I'm only going to do that if it escalates again. Because all I'm trying to do is ensure the safety of myself and those around me. And it's neither safe for me or for other people to be treating me like an enemy and acting like this, what is supposed to be a civilian neighborhood, is a war zone. It's not appropriate, and it doesn't benefit anyone. And just checking there's someone behind me, making sure they don't do anything. Alright, and this is where I'm going to pull over right here, and I'm just going to get my maps going and make sure I know how to get back going the right way. If I could take a left over here, I would be going the right way again, and I would be essentially at where I could then take a right to go to Grants again, or last known. So give me a second here. I've still got my body cam rolling, so I'll just show that. And the person behind me just flashed their lights at me. So I'm going the speed limit, and they're still flashing their lights at me. Not sure what that's about, but I'm going the speed limit right now. I'll move over and let them pass if that's what they're on about. But I don't know why they're flashing their lights at me. was no reason for them to look at me like that. Oh, apparently I actually got on the wrong place. I got on the wrong road. And I'm actually not going to be able to... Wait, yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to show you Helon's place right now. Apparently I just got on the highway. I thought that was going to take me back to whatever road I was on before, but that apparently was incorrect. And I would have to pull over again to find another safe space to check my GPS again, and I don't think that's worth it right now. So I'll just point out that Helon's place was not that far down the road. Let's put it that way. It was not that far down the road. Like maybe a few intersections down the road. Alright, so once again, this isn't about being vindictive. It's not about fucking ousting people. And as long as no one involved is doing anything wrong, then there shouldn't be any problems here. And if they are doing something wrong, then I need it to stop because my life has been put in danger. And I don't think it's appropriate for me to retaliate with the same type of behavior that they're using. So, I guess that concludes this round of evidence collection. And if it escalates again, then I'll feel a need to go back and document where Helon lives. And I will explain a few more issues that may have led to this situation. So, yep, now I'm going to focus on driving.